back today with another video. Today I'm covering a part 2 or a follow-up to a video that I did a couple weeks ago, which was the four main Uchiha of the series going all out in a battle royale with their base MS, base Manga Sharingan abilities, no enhancements of any kind, and to see who would come out on top. At the end of that video, I did tease or hint at a possible part 2 video of the same Uchiha in that video fighting the Uchiha god of the series himself, Madara Uchiha. So for context, if you want to go watch that video, you don't necessarily have to, but if you want to, I'll leave a link here for the description below. But today, I got a brand new guest to the channel. Finally got him on here. Y'all can get off my back about it. I know my subscribers been wanting me to bring him on here. I got my boy Virtue on the channel with me. Go say everybody.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's me, Virtue. I'm very glad to be on the channel, and I want to thank Lightning Blade, new name, for putting me on the channel. It's been cool. There's never been anything between us. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to talk about this stomp.
for sure. So I pitched to him this idea of a video, and he's like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it. We'll see if these four Uchiha have what it takes to combat the man himself. And so yeah, I mean, and I think it's a weird because people might be thinking right off the bat that we probably aren't giving the Uchiha team what they need to combat Madara. But I mean, let's be honest. Like, if we were to give EMS to Sasuke or the Renegade to Obito, I mean, it does become a little bit tougher, And maybe we can do a part 2 to this video, or part 3, I guess technically, if y'all want to see that. But right now, we're just going to see if the four main Uchiha, Itachi, Sasuke, Shisui, and Obito, can survive against this Madara or even beat him with just their own respective base MS. So, again, base MS is meaning that there is no EMS for Sasuke, no Renegade for Obito or Sasuke, and no enhancements for Obito either, meaning Hashirama cells or 6-pass chakra. So, everyone just has their own respective MS. And where we're going to gauge the reference point of how long their Sharingan can hold out, assuming that these guys are going to spam the crap out of their MS abilities, which is definitely going to need to in this fight, is 5 Kage Summon Sasuke. And that's what I always do when it comes to this kind of thing, because Sasuke just got the MS, not too long, before the 5 Kage Summon arc, and when he got to the 5 Kage Summon, he was pretty much spamming it, like there was no tomorrow. So... And he lasted for a good bit. It wasn't until he fought Kakashi at the end of the arc where he started to lose his sight a little bit. And so that just means that their Sharingan can hold out for a good bit. So, Virtue, on top of your head, what were you thinking when I first pitched this idea to you for the video?
Well, I mean, yeah, the first thing is always, okay, what forms are we talking about? So, and what are we giving Shisui, for example? So, Shisui, does he have the Susanoo? Okay, so we'll grant him the Susanoo, and there are different ways to justify Shisui even having the Susanoo. Some ways me and Lightning talked about just before this was a good way to talk about it is generation cutscenes. These are ascribed by CyberConnect 2, the game producers, to be canon to the anime and additional content. The Naruto 99 official artwork does show Kishimoto drawing Shisui's drill as a preferred weapon as to the sword on his back in comparison, which is really interesting to note as he does use that quite a bit. So, maybe Kishimoto's hinting at he does want this to be a concept, and of course he did draw the concepts for the game. So him having the Susanoo is quite interesting, although we don't know much about it in the game. He fires a bunch of bullets at a little Anbu platoon of Danzo's men and whatnot, so it's kind of an interesting note to talk about, but I completely agree with the Sasuke point. I think 5 Kage Summit is the fairest to go. I think when you get into EMS, it's kind of granting him something that the other Uchiha don't have. Obviously we're not talking about Madara, but the other ones don't have, we're giving him a little bit too much, and I do think 5 Kage Summit Sasuke is an absolute animal. I mean, in all honesty, he grows exponentially through the summon, even Kari notes that his chakra is getting even colder. Then he gets the MS and fights the Raikage. Then he opens it up to a skeletal Susanoo. Kari notes it's even colder. Then he ends up trying to beat up Mei in his Susanoo and ups it, and then he just gets so fatigued he drops to a knee. But then Zetsu takes the Kage's chakra and heals him, and then he's fine. Then he gets exponentially stronger in the Danzo fight, where Obito basically says that his hatred's maturing and his body is merely adapting to it, which fits with Tobirama's notes of him saying that Basically, the greater the ocular powers get, the stronger the person basically becomes and whatnot, or the deeper the hate at least. And so it's kind of a chakra potency. So he's obviously getting a lot stronger, and Itachi is somebody also that's kind of relative to this sort of peak Kage Summit Sasuke. Stated in the 4th data book that Sasuke finally surpasses Itachi, whereas here, that's kind of alluded to by the many comparisons, such as C, comparing their jutsus and utilization of their Mangekyo, or Danzo just comparing their Tsukiyomi and Genjutsu, calling it a night and day difference and whatnot. So there are some really interesting points here, but the one that's most interesting that we kind of had to come to a weird conclusion on was Obito.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because again, like in the video that I did a couple weeks ago, we're pretty much going to bring that Obito to this battle too, which means base MS Obito with, no Hashirama cells, no 6-pass chakra, but in the same case of all of Shisui from the Susanoo and the OVA scene, Itachi Susanoo and Sasuke Susanoo, Obito will also have his respective Susanoo. But, and I want to make this very clear, we are not including his perfect Susanoo, because it wouldn't make sense for him to have perfect Susanoo without any 6-pass chakra to enhance. So, what that means is we're just going to give him the same size as Sasuke or Itachi, the big, armored one that's like kind of medium sized, no legs, whatnot, but with his also respective Susanoo weapons, which were the Kamui Shuriken. So just to make it as much, as fair as we possibly can, because, a lot of it, again, at first glance, you think it would be fair, but we are trying to give an even plateau for all these Uchihas to where they could, have something to fight against this Madara in order to, maybe pressure him through teamwork, because all four of these Uchihas are incredibly smart, some have more chances in the series to show off their mental acuity than others, but that's not to downplay anybody else's intelligence, because I think honestly, all of these characters are really relative in terms of intelligence. So, and I think a lot of you are trying to, waiting for us to get to what version of Madara we're going to be using. We're pretty much just kind of replacing the Uchihas with the 5 Kage. We're just going to have them fight Edo Madara, the same Edo Madara that 5 Kage fought in the War Arc. I thought about it. I asked Virtue, what would be a good reference, because obviously this is the only version that I feel like, really fits the tone of the kind of battle we're trying to pitch here. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Well, I mean, you take EMS Madara, and this dude, he's tanking Susanoo, or not Susanoo, but full Kurama Bijou bombs being handed like a Rasengan to a Susanoo without a single scratch. And if you look at the terrain around, there's more spherical indentations in the terrain to imply he did this more than once.
Yeah.
So EMS is just too crazy to really bring into the fray, whereas Edo Madara, we can justify more things as well with his performance against the 5 Kage, relativity to White Mask, Obito, and whatnot. And although I will still say that Edo Madara is nothing to joke about, literally the 4th data book calls him the strongest Uchiha, which is insane to think about. White Mask Obito's around by this point as well, which would be consistent with how they can combo attack together. They are able to jump at equal speeds and land at equal speeds onto the Ten-Tails. They're able to use these same same attacks at the same paneled speed. So like the paneling for their attacks against KCM2 Naruto, and then their rebuttal attacks against KCM2 Naruto's are always implied to be very relative, just like their, fireballs and whatnot, or not the fireballs, but the Majestic Destroyer Flame and Bomb Blast Dance respectively, where those move an equal distance. They're the Susanoo projectiles, Kamui projectiles, they're basically the same. Lightning, he mentioned how we're going to be giving Obito basically the similar abilities as to what Kakashi would have, although the potency will be lowered for obvious reasons. But Obito is pretty proficient with shuriken like this. He uses a lot of large-scale shuriken that he actually takes from Madara's cave, which is interesting, to utilize, and he throws them out of Kamui, and he thinks they're going to work on KCM2 Naruto, which is potent enough. And even then, this, Obito and Naruto are quite relative, but even then, you could imply that Orange Mask Obito alone by himself is just slightly below a KCM2 Naruto anyway, if you kind of subscribe to Minato saying that, yeah, Pain was a threat, but this guy, you're going to need to master the Nine-Tails to beat. And then, of course, whenever KCM2 does come out, Kurama confirms this is what Minato always wanted. So it's like KCM2 Naruto would be able to beat Orange Mask Obito, but that's what's required. It's not a KCM1, it's a KCM2.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense, which can fit with some of Itachi's lore. If you take his Edo scaling to scale back to his more early Shippuden, less sick self that we're taking here, where it's more that they can kind of rival each other, and that Itachi could be slightly above a KCM 1 level alive, and Obito's just under a KCM 2 level, hence to why you might respect him so much, whatnot. So there are some good interpretations for this battle, but I would say that Obito is definitely the biggest hitter, but there's a reason we're not taking EMS Madara, because nobody would be a big hitter in comparison.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought the Obito, feats up too, because another thing I wanted to bring up too, this is what I brought up in my, the video I did a couple weeks ago also, is that and I told this to Virtue, and he seems to agree, that with him not having 6-pass chakra or Hashirama cells, yes, his, visual prowess is not going to be as enhanced, but that doesn't take away from the fact that now he has both. I mean, we saw that even with just one MS, how quick Obito was at phasing through people's attacks, like the Raikage, for example, at point blank. So, I mean, given an extra MS to this Obito, at bare minimum, because we already saw, how fast Kakashi was at sniping away things in the war arc, but even without the Kurama chakra feats, he was already stellar with Kamui. He was using it on the freaking fly. It was nobody's business. So, and that was with him not even being an Uchiha or the Ai's original owner in the first place. So you give this to Obito, and I think at bare minimum, his speed with Kamui and his reaction time as far as phasing goes will be at least War Arc Kakashi level in terms of speed. So, if not greater than. So, and yeah, so Virtue said, we're using we're using Edo Madara in this fight, and he said, yeah, Edo Madara is nothing to sleep on. He took on 5 Kage while he was playing around. He literally called them children. Yeah, I don't think people understand that. He was he literally called them children, and it was just toying around with them, and still, had them on the edge of their seat the entire time. Literally, we were just talking about this. Oniki was pretty much backpacking the entire team, or at least,
give him his credit, y'all. Yeah. Give him his credit. He did all that work.
Yeah. So, going on to that, Madara could literally just summon 25 Wood Clone. And that's not even the max he could do. That's just a round number he wanted to use. He literally made that number as a joke. Literally for the punchline. He was literally okay, I got you. And then, it was now it's 5-1 the other way. So don't call me cowardly. That was the only reason he made 25. He could do more if he wanted to. So, yeah, 25 Wood Clones is a lot to worry about anyway. Not even counting the Susanos that they could use. So, real quick, let's talk about how they could, fight them without the Susanos. Like you said, they have a lot of these characters like Itachi and Obito have high end assertions. KCM 1, even KCM 2 Naruto levels. So phasing through, in Obito's case, phasing through 5 Madara Wood Clones may not seem that big an issue, but it does become a problem when Obito has to be more reserved on Kamui this time around, because for obvious reasons, the more he uses Kamui, the quicker he's going to burn his eyesight out. Same thing with Itachi. I would say Itachi could probably have a better time. I say have a better time reacting to 5 Wood Clones from Madara than Obito, only because with Obito we see that it's Kamui is his whole thing, right? And so it's kind of weird taking that away from him for a minute, or at least more so than we would have to originally, because he has to be more reserved on using it. So it's really weird. It'd almost be like him fighting Kakashi in the Kamui dimension, because he can't use Kamui in the Kamui dimension, so he had to get used to fighting under those circumstances. Whereas Itachi, like Virtue said, if you want to scale his peak healthy condition to his performance in his Edo condition, where he's swapping hands with KCM Naruto, then it's possible that he could deal with 5 Wood Clones at the same time. But I don't know. I think that's still being a little generous even towards Itachi.
No, I completely agree. I mean, even then, it's okay. I am somebody, you don't have to hold lightning to this. If he doesn't subscribe to it, of course, it's that Itachi does scale to his Edo form in at least some way. The Edo Tensei is merely a replicative jutsu. It's based on a replicative nature to bring back the character or the subject to a point when they were alive. So it does this through mimicking everything biologically that it shouldn't do. It's quite insane. So for Hashirama, he gets Hashirama cells. Hiruzen comes back with the amount of dead pigment on skin cells on his face to maintain the same amount of wrinkles and old man spots and his beard color. So Itachi has blood in his eye and whatnot, through the bloodshot eye when he uses the Amaterasu and things like that. And it doesn't just seem to be an author's indicator. Even Gengetsu has blood. So, of course, this Itachi, these are his high level stuff. He's using his, base 3 Tomoe. He's weaving around KCM1 Naruto. And of course, there is assertions to say, well, Naruto's talking. He's not trying to really hurt Itachi. Well, yeah, that's fine. But B and Naruto are relative. Itachi does 3 backflips over B before he can even finish his surprise attack. He's blitzing behind him, telling him, hey, I'm behind you. He's using the Phoenix Flower Jutsu to hurt him when he's using like transformed hands and whatnot.
Tobirama also admits that like whenever the reanimation is performed, like now that all of us here are nearly at our full strength. So this is like Itachi that is not even at his full peak power, because Yedo, he's not.
Yeah.
So that just further proves your point that, like, if it was alive, tippity top, healthy Itachi, that he performed even better than he did in an Edo version when he fought Naruto.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, yeah, Edo Itachi can still be a greater fighter. I would concede that. I think he is a better fighter. Why do I think he's a better fighter? Well, I think it's because of his chakra. Because, Kabuto's Edo Tensei might even have like an infinite regenerating supply or pool of chakra. Kakuzu's 4th data book page notes this idea of them having an infinite amount of chakra, which is really interesting. So, of course, Edo Itachi can use more abilities. He can stay at a heightened level more often. But of course, you take him back to his life, he might not be able to do this. Where, I showed this to Lightning, and it's a really interesting point. Itachi Walston in a Sasuke fight, yeah, he's deathly fatigued and whatnot, and is, obviously holding back, but he uses 2 Amaterasu, but the 2 Amaterasu are actually kind of weird. So, the one he uses on the fireball, but then you can see him close his eye to shut the Amaterasu off. The Amaterasu is then dissipated in the next panel. He then reopens this eye and dilates the pupil, symbolizing allocation of chakra similar to the Rinnegan when it gains this sort of sensory mode and whatnot, where now Itachi then just fires it off the roof, but he drags it back up, which would imply he can like drag shot with the Amaterasu. So all of this to say that Itachi is an absolute unit, but is he a unit like Madara? Probably not. We mentioned the notes of KCM2 and KCM1. So the difference there and Madara being a KCM2 level threat, just through being relative to White Mask Obito in general, is more than what you might realize. Because to put it like this, right? Itachi in 3 Tomoe relative to KCM1. Okay, then Itachi in his MS as a relative to EMS Sasuke. This MS difference is potentially even a blitz level difference because, which would be fitting with the B stuff, but anyway, it could be a blitz level difference because now he can, rip off Nagato's arm, slice him with his Susanoo hand, things like this. Nagato is able to completely catch and hold Naruto, suck his soul out. Pause. And then even when B tries to do a behind attack, he actually charges up the blade because it didn't work on Itachi. So now he charges up with Raiton, and now Itachi still is able to disconnect this, and he's able to hold him. You can see tension lines. So this is like a blitz level difference, right? And then he's compared to be equals with EMS Sasuke later, this early EMS Sasuke. Sasuke gets stronger, gets more resolve through talking to Hokage. Then he's able to rival a KCM 1.5 Naruto. So a KCM1 Naruto with just a better seal. So not even KCM2. Naruto tries to go KCM2 and the whole cloak dissipates because it's too much chakra. So that's the difference between KCM2 and KCM1. So there is a big difference here. So like if we say that here in this first scenario, we're kind of going under the assumption that Madara is going a lot harder. So in that idea that he's going a lot harder, he might be able to utilize this KCM2 speed a lot quicker off start instead of being like, well, the Chokotomo great pattern of your Mangekyo allows you to be more prone to using attacks like, X or whatever. So he's not going to be doing these weird things and testing them out. He's going to be actually trying to beat them and demonstrate his superiority overall. And I think this speed gap of, even though Itachi is so strong, even compared to the rest of the squad, he's not really nothing compared to Madara, even if you give him his higher interpretations compared to Madara's more low-end interpretations. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's like, all that said, we were just talking about the 25 wood clones or 20 wood clones that we're talking about. That's not even like getting, because like a lot of people tend to forget this, is that like Madara didn't even like tag in until he thought like, okay, maybe I should get the Raikage real quick and put him under a Genjutsu. Before that, Madara was just chilling on the sidelines while he was looking at all his wood clones doing all the work against the 5 Kage. So that could be a similar case here, honestly. And again, that's just 20 wood clones. If he's just, putting the same amount, in conjunction with, how many Uchiha are on the field. So, okay, so if we were to talk about, like, honestly, the second that, like, the wood clones are even on the field in the first place, I would not be surprised if each of these Uchiha goes into their respective Susanos at that moment. Because that would be the best bet. They're fighting 5 wood clones of Madara. It's just a lot to worry about in the first place. So, I'm pretty sure in reactive in nature, the wood clones would probably do the same thing, go into their respective Susanos. And you know what? And in this case, though, I honestly would probably give the Susanoo to wood clones fight to the Uchihas only because of the tools they have at their disposal, i.e. Itachi and Obito specifically. Like, yeah, I mean, the drill that Shisui has definitely could help, but it's not like something that has like a hack's ability such as the Totsuka Blade or the Kamui Shuriken. Whereas, Obito can launch them from a distance, and it seems like he's pretty precise with it, or at least if we're taking like how Kakashi was. Itachi, same case, he could just start chopping through, and they're big targets. So it becomes a situational case. Sasuke's there, Shishui's there, providing any kind of backup they need to Itachi and Obito, because they are the big boys in this. They are the Onokis of this team. They're the ones that have the battlefield removers that are definitely going to be able to help everybody. So that's what I think. Like, as far as like the Susanoo, the Susanoo v Susanoo scenario that we're pitching here.
No, I mean, modern character using this more Susanoo, less Caesium to utilize speed, more holding back, more just to humiliate them and whatnot, and just kind of play with them. I think they are a threat enough to be able to oppose this. So no, I don't hate this idea. I agree.
Yeah, but the second he whips out that perfect Susanoo, though, that's where it becomes a little bit tricky.
It's gonna be like when Mei sees it and she's like, "Guys, I think we're dead," and the Raikage's like, "Shut up."
I don't know. We haven't even talked about like Madara's uses of the Renegon. Heck, we haven't even freaking mentioned that he can drop 2 meteors if he really felt pressure to do so. And it's like, a lot of people tend to forget that too. I myself, like, Madara dropped 2 meteors casually. Now, I mean, granted, he did have to take a few minutes to like put the hand signs together to to drop it, but still, like, what are they gonna? I mean, I've actually seen people say that the Yadomir could probably tank the meteors. To that, I am actually not too sure. Like, at first glance, I would have been like, that seems a little bit off. But if the description of the Yadomir is correct, then like, who knows? Maybe it could, or
I mean, that's what I would subscribe to. I mean, I think like the way it describes that, okay, it can match the attributes of the oncoming attack, allowing it to completely equal it out and nullify it or repel it. I think that's usually why I think the Yadomir is one of the things in this series you actually can take far beyond the what's the data book coverage, so you can take it beyond chapter 402 in a sense because of that.
Well, also too, there's also, I don't know how well this will work, but if Madara decide to do that, Obito might be able to use the Kamui Shuriken on that. I don't know if he'll be able to warp away something as huge as a freaking meteor, but I mean, I don't know. At best case, if the Yadomir couldn't do it, then Obito would just have to start chucking Kamui Shurikens to get as much as he can get off of the meteor before it hits the ground. But so and back to the Renegon, we haven't even really discussed how the Renegon plays a factor in this, because Jutsu is like Amaterasu. We were just talking about this too. We love Amaterasu. We think it's sick. We think it's really OP. But just like with Kamui, with Kakashi, the whole Kakashi Kamui thing, we never really seen Amaterasu kill its intended target. At least not when you're taking, filler or novel feats into account. Like, no, like Amaterasu does not have a confirmed kill. Like, it was blatantly used on Madara, and Madara literally had a counter to it. He just lobbed his armor off. So that's not even like getting into the fact that if he sees it, if he's in character, he's already on the battlefield, he's already kind of limbered up or whatnot. I'm pretty sure he's already going to have like the instinct enough to like catch Amaterasu as soon as it's launched or whatever, as soon as it's spawned, and just absorb it, And if worst case, even if it does land on him and like the armor isn't lobbed off, he could just almighty push the flames off the same way Nagato did. So yeah, like I could ask Virtue. I was struggling to find an answer to how the Uchihas can take this, and I actually did come up with something, and I thought about it for a while, but it would honestly depend on how Madara would act in the fight. So I pitched this to Virtue, and it sounds reasonable, I suppose, at a first glance, because Madara is one that likes to test his mettle. Case in point, the 5 Kage. Like, he literally was like, all right, cool, this is a perfect gauge for me. Like, this is a perfect opportunity to test my strength now that I'm back here, amongst the living, see how well I can do. I feel like this would be the same case, because he'd be looking at 4 Uchihas, and the fact that they're the only Uchihas left in the world, he'd be like, you know what? Maybe it's time I test my mettle against these Uchiha. Like, see if these Uchiha are worthy to bear the name Uchiha, or something along those lines. And I could see him kind of not resorting to the Susanoo or the Wood Clones off the bat. And being that they know that they're fighting Madara, obviously the Uchiha team is going to take it as seriously as they possibly can. The only way that I see them winning this is that if Madara is kind of not toying with them per se, but not going all out from the jump, and assuming that the other team is going to do so, then they could probably maybe work together in a way to have Shisui or Itachi land either Tsukuyomi or Kodomatsukami, specifically the Kodomatsukami that Danzo tried to use on Mifune, because honestly, like, I don't know about you, Archie, I don't know if like they could really get Madara in a position where they could make direct eye contact with him enough to put him under a Tsukuyomi or a Genjutsu. So I feel like, personally, Kodomatsukami, the version that Danzo used, is probably the best bet they got in order to get him in a position where he's either caught in the Genjutsu or not realizing that he's under control, and Itachi just either Itachi pokes him with a Totsuka blade, or Obito kamui him from a distance, and GG.
Another one would be is in a similar vein, and it's just Tsukuyomi, the feared strongest Genjutsu. If you do take the Itachi Shinen novels, the second one, Itachi, he, forces Izumi, his girlfriend, to live out her entire life and kind of fries her brain. He does the same thing to Yashiro Uchiha. He crucifies him in the middle of a black ocean and stabs him with infinite blades until he can't even process words at all or anything like that. So, it could work, but it's again, you just have to give Tsukuyomi a higher interpretation, which I don't hate either. I've never been someone to say that the Renegon could block it or anything like that. So I think it is very plausible, and they do have a lot of win cons just based on their nature. Kodomatsukami, Totsuka Blade, Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Kamui Head Snipe. There's so many really good win cons that are just off the bat win cons that I think could be utilized here to really give them a win if you want to give them that scenario.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I told Virtue as soon as we started recording. I was like, man, it would honestly just have to depend on how Madara takes the fight from the jump. If he's not as willing to go full force, and he's just kind of playing around, not playing around, but acting the similar way that he did against the 5 Kage at the start of their fight, because he wasn't really going with any clones, or he was using his Susanoo, but he was only really using the skeletal Susanoo, the one that wraps around himself. At the start of the fight, he wasn't really going all out at the beginning. So if it's like that, I honestly think of just on the ground with limited Susanoo, this and that. I honestly feel like with Obito's phasing, Itachi's Amaterasu, Sasuke's Amaterasu, Totsuka Blade, Kamui Shuriken, whatever. I don't know. I feel like they can lend enough distractions for Shisui to secretly plan a Kodomatsukami. And that's another thing too. I mentioned this in the video I made a couple weeks ago. It's I don't really know how one avoids being caught in this Genjutsu, because we've never really seen another Sharingan user be caught with it. So the only thing I really could say in Shisui's favor is that he seemed pretty convinced that if he were to launch it or use it on Fugaku, that it would have worked. So maybe if Obito, the combination of Obito, Sasuke, and Itachi could distract Madara for long enough where Shisui could secretively set up Kodomatsu Kami and just not even have Madara be aware that it's like he's being manipulated in any kind of way. Totsuka Blade or Tsukuyomi can be launched at any time at that point, or Kamui Shuriken, something along those lines to get rid of Madara. And that's like the only thing I can. It just depends on, again, their best win con is Madara's attitude. I hate to sound redundant, but that is exactly what their best win con is.
Yep. No, it absolutely is. It is their best win con. I mean, earlier we were really laying out how if Madara really does try to want to kill them, he doesn't mess around or anything. He does it pretty sound. But if he does go more in character, he plays around with him a little too much. He could, if he messes with the bull, he'll get the horns because, again, they have these frequent one-shot abilities that are just insane and could be utilized if the strategy is pulled off perfectly. If they play an A game and Madara is not going so crazy, I think this is definitely a good win for them.
Now, honestly, now that I think about it, it's like maybe I could honestly see the other side of the argument where people would be like, no, Madara was just playing around the 5 Kage because they were just the 5 Kage. I think maybe the fact that these are Uchihas, he might be more inclined to take it seriously. Who knows? He's like, maybe I shouldn't take these Uchiha lightly from the jump. Maybe I should be, especially since Virtue, pointed out to me Madara would probably be quick to point out to himself that these guys have Mangekyou Sharingan. They're not just the basic Sharingan, so they might have abilities that I don't know about that might be really, detriment to me. So maybe I shouldn't play around. So I could see two separate arguments, for both sides, that either Madara does play around or Madara doesn't play around. So. But like we said, the best thing we can give for this Uchiha team is that if Madara is not serious from the jump, decides to play around, and if their teamwork is so on point, which I could see, specifically Itachi, Sasuke, and Shisui, I'm pretty sure they could I'm pretty sure they were used to working together anyway. So yeah. That's all I got, honestly, man. Virtue, I don't know about you. I don't know what you got. If you got anything else?
No, I think that's good. It's just is Madara's pride going to get in the way or not? Other than that, I think it's a pretty clear discussion.
All right, well, that's going to be it for the video today. Thank you so much, Virtue, for being on the channel again for the first time.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was great to be here. Everyone sub to Lightning if you haven't already. He's got a lot of good content. I'm sure if you go check out more of his videos as well, you can also learn something as well. So yeah.
Thank you for being on the channel. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed to Virtue yet, please do so. I'll leave a link for the channel in the description below. Always putting out great content. He is grinding, y'all. He's not even he's not playing around. He's coming with the fire. If y'all want a part 2 or I guess part 3 to this, let me know in the comments. If you want a stronger version of these characters versus a slightly stronger version of Madara, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to get to it. But thank you all for watching all the way to the end. If you have, until my next one, the Lightning Blade is out.